Hello, everyone. Officially, good morning, afternoon, night. It's great to see that we have here 94 people and going up, which means that lots of journalists around the planet are interested in Pre-Elevate. So I'd like to introduce myself, my team, and talk a little bit about what Elevate and Pre-Elevate are. So let's start with the easy one. I'm Cristina Tardaguila. I'm the Senior Program Director at ICFJ, the International Center for Journalists. And here you're going to meet Anna Ferguson, our Program Assistant, Renata Salvini, who is our M&E Specialist, M&E meaning Monitoring and Evaluation Specialist. And then we have here at least two of our great speakers, Rishad Patel from Splice and Adriana Peña, who is the person I love the most and knows everything about internet, SEO, Google's audits. So you're going to be amazed by her. And then I'll give them the floor in a minute. So first of all, I really want to go over what you're about to see in this conversation. Today is the first day of a series of 4 online meetings. Each Tuesday during March, the month of March, you will be meeting an extraordinary speaker who will try hard to convince you that even though you are a journalist, you need to be a business person too. And in order to be a good leader, to run a successful newsroom or a news initiative, you have to think beyond reporting, beyond the headline, beyond the lead, the photo, the infographics. So with this idea in the background, team, I really want to invite you to open your mind. We are not going to discuss journalism in this program at all. We are going to touch cases in journalism, but always thinking on the business and the sustainability perspective on how to make your organization more stable and tougher to move on. So Pre-Elevate starts the second edition of Elevate, the ICFJ's news business hub. Some of you probably applied for the first cohort, which took place in 2022. And unfortunately, we couldn't host you all. We had 18 organizations participating, and you will soon see how beautiful the work ended and the achievements that all those organizations had. They will probably be sharing a lot, and we will also share from my CFJ perspective. So keep an eye on that. And what we're going to do now is that with Pre-Elevate, we want to make sure that we know you so we can choose better those who will be in the second cohort. So I strongly advise you that throughout these 4 sessions, the first one with Rishad today about business strategy, the second one with me about finance and a little bit about money, like how do you keep track of that data. The third one will be with Leonardo Stamilo on social media audiences and how to better use those spaces. And then the last week of March will be Adriana on technology and how you need to understand algorithms very well to avoid being eaten by the platforms. So I really want to see everybody here engaged. This is a place where we want to drive conversations. And again, just keep in mind that the meeting here is to make sure that me, Anna, and Renata are able to pick the best organizations, the one who with the mindset ready to make the huge change that we are expecting to make during Elevate 2023. So with that in mind, I think, Anna, do you want to say anything? Hello to everybody, and Renata.
Hello, everybody. We're really excited about this second year. We've revamped the program, and we're excited to get into this and have another round of great learning and great entrepreneurial spirit. So that's it for me.
Okay.
Just want to say welcome, everyone. We are very excited.
There you go. So maybe I just say, Adriana, do you want to say a few words before we leave the floor to Rishad in his class?
I mean, to begin, just thank you so much to be part of this. And yes, history will be written by those who master the algorithms.
There you go. I totally agree. Thanks for being here today, Adriana. Rishad, I think the floor is yours. I know you have a amazing presentation and lots to teach. We will have about 1 hour of you talking and sharing, and then we will have room for questions. But I just want to make people aware that we are in the chat, we are in the Q&A. So anywhere you want to comment, me and Anna will be monitoring. So feel free to just start going on. Thanks, Rishad, for being here, and have a great session. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Chris and Renata and Anna. I'm going to try and fire up my presentation now. Anna, do I have the host control thing going?
You should have it.
Okay, and I'm going to try, and I've got 2 screens going, and I'm going to try and multitask, something I'm terrible at, but I'm going to try and see questions as they come in. But if I fail, then just either yell or tell Anna, and I'll jump in. All right, so sharing now. Okay. And now I have, right, okay, I have the right presentation on. All right. Hello, Unda. Nice to see you in there from Mongolia. Listen, I'm here to tell you, can everybody hear me okay? Is the sound okay? All right, fantastic. I'm here to tell you that a solid business strategy can probably make things go horribly right with your organization. I'm going to actually do a bunch of things through the presentation, and that's going to look like a whole bunch of different things. Here are just a few of the things that I'll cover in our journey towards this amazing business strategy. Along the way, I'm going to be asking you questions like, why do you exist? In other language, we say, what is your why? Why do you even exist? What specific problem are you solving? Who are you solving it for? Do you have product market fit? It sounds like jargon. I promise you it isn't. And is what you're doing a kind of a lottery ticket or a hobby or like a side gig, or is it your actual business? This is probably a good time to find out, but let's get going. I'm going to introduce you to us first. I'm from this little organization called Splice. What you're looking at right now on your screen is one half of the organization. We're 2 people. But we help you build viable media startups in Asia, regardless of where you are in the media ecosystem. You could be a funder, you could be a media startup, you could be a creator, you could be someone, an investor, you could be a teacher or a student. The idea is we work with everybody around the world, all these institutions and people, to document and design and report and advise and all the verbs. To celebrate journalism creators and media startups. And that's 100% of the company. I'm the idiot on the left, pointing at something off screen because I was kidding around during the photo shoot. And that's my beloved co-founder and buddy for now 12 years, God. We've been running Splice for 8 of those 12 years. I think for the other 4, we were kind of like grumbling about why the media industry was so far behind, and then we stopped being grumpy old men and decided to do something about it. So that's me and Alan, and so let's warm things up a little bit. What the heck is business strategy, right? Let's start with what it isn't. Here's a good beginning. Look, this is not business strategy. So, not business strategy looks like. And some of these are kind of direct quotes. We've had, conversations with people. I've just got this grant. I'm going to hire a bunch of journalists. I'm going to buy lots of laptops and tech and some cameras. I'm going to rent an office. And I'm going to make videos of untold stories around journalism that matters. And we're both going like, yikes, please don't. Or here's another example of what business strategy is not. Hey, let's do a podcast. You know, podcasts are cool. I really love podcasts. People are getting into podcasts. Let's do this thing. Or the other one is, we're getting funding for a podcast. Looks like we should do a podcast. Thomas Rowley says, I hate podcasts. I'm reading, don't think I'm not watching the chat. Or here's another not business strategy. We're publishing 20 stories a week, and those are getting 200,000 page views. And now we need more stories. And now we need more publishing. And now we need more page views. Also not a business strategy. All of these, to my mind, sound like one big lottery ticket. It's like one massive gamble, right? Let's take a whole bunch of content that people have spent time and money and resources and effort and heartache over, and then just like, let's throw it at the wall and then see what sticks. And if it doesn't stick, then we're going to do something about it. But we're doing important work. The idea is like, you know, the gambling is at one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum, in an ideal world, is a business strategy. So let's assume you're Nike. I'm going to go ahead and assume that you are Nike. And you're Nike, and you are in the business of making basketball shoes. And you've decided that, you know, in the country in Rio, in Brazil, just because I just saw Natalia's message, we're in Rio, and we're in Sao Paulo. And in Sao Paulo, we have decided everybody needs to play basketball. Everybody needs basketball shoes. And so we set up a factory, right? And let's say we spend a bunch of money, because why produce one shoe for a little bit of money when you could produce a lot of shoes for, say, $20 million in this factory of ours, right? And we say, we've got to market this thing, right? Because what else happens when you throw spaghetti at the wall? You've got to now throw your content out there, and now you've got to like get people interested in this, right? How do you market this? So we market. You spend a few dollars, and you say, we've got to do more marketing, $10 million for marketing. Sure, let's do more marketing. But then you start, you know, you're not seeing a lot of results. And you're going, all of that, you know, all of these great shoes, all of that great marketing. Maybe it's time we spoke to people and say, why the hell are you not buying shoes? What the hell shoes do you want? And you ask this question, and you're going, surely you want our basketball shoes. And what if the answer is maybe not? What if the answer is, no, actually, we want football shoes? Because, you know, we're in Brazil and we're in Sao Paulo and we play football. Yikes. Bit embarrassing there, right? And what I'm trying to do here is explain how product market fit works, you know. And this is where I go, hello product, meet my friend market. Both of you would get along really well. Let's give people the football shoes they're looking for. And let's call that product market fit. And we're saying that, what I'm trying to say is, what if we did that bit first? What if we did all of that bit before we built the basketball shoe factory? So here we are. If I had sound effects right now, this would be where I'd do the record scratch, right? And we're saying, here we are again at the not business strategy. This sounds like a lot like basically basketball shoes for a bunch of people who you haven't asked who actually might want football boots. let's go back to that business strategy question. What is it? What if it were a really simple statement? What if it were a set of 3 statements or questions that we needed answers to? How do you define a business strategy, right? Here's where we are. Here's where we want to be. And here's how do we get there, right? So if we were to recalibrate that, we're saying this is a theory of change, right? What problem are you solving? And for who? Alan and I, Alan comes from over 2 decades of journalism. I come from 2 decades of product design and working with journalists. So the idea is, that we've been now, when Alan and I talk, or when we talk to media startups that we're mentoring or coaching, we say, what problem are you solving? We become really boring at a point because people are like, I want to do a podcast. What problem are you solving? What problem is that solving? Who cares about your podcast? I want to do chat GPT AI website, something, what problem are you solving? So what if that set of questions was, here's where we are, which is the problem, right? Here's where we want to be, which is where you are when the problem goes away in your ideal situation. And then C is kind of, here's how we get there, which is possibly your solution or your many solutions. And how you get from A to B is essentially what I'm saying is a business strategy. And getting from A to B can be a pretty messy process. It can look like that, right? I mean, there is no straight line. In fact, this is like a really simple business strategy. This is just one complicated, holy mess of a line. There's usually many, right? But this is a start. This is what a plan looks like. It's messy, but it's a plan. It's a strategy. It's a roadmap. What point is a map to you if you're lost and it tells you where you're going, but it doesn't tell you where you are, right? So, and it doesn't give you the routes to where you want to go. So let's talk about obsession. In what we do, we really should be obsessed with these 3 questions. What can I build that people need? And will the people that I want to serve find what I build useful and relevant to their lives? And can I make money doing this? Is it viable? You could say, some people say resilient, some people say sustainable, some people, we tend to use viable. It just means, are you going to make money? Because we really do think you should make money, as opposed to ask people for grants. Nothing wrong in asking for grants, but really cool to test out a business model that actually has a strategy, right? So that's what we should be obsessed with, right? Product market fit. How do you give football boots to people who want football boots rather than the basketball boots that they don't care about, right? So this doesn't work. This will never work. This is spaghetti on the wall. This is that lottery ticket, right? What if let's edit this statement quickly, right? What if we edit it? What if I don't need a $50,000 grant? What if I make an assumption around a user problem in my community? People in this area don't have streetlights, and therefore it's really unsafe for people walking home after school and work, especially for young girls. These are real problems, right? These are real, specific problems. When we say, by the way, user problems, we're not talking about their problems with your media or your website, your podcast. Nobody cares about your media, website, podcast, with all due respect. When I say user problem, I mean real problems out there in the world. So I'm going to figure out that assumption. I'm going to test my assumption by saying, hey, folks, I think your problem is this. Here's my thing that is a media solution. And I'm going to keep building on this based on your feedback. And when you tell me enough feedback, I'm going to ask you to pay for it. I'm not going to pay. Okay, you're not going to pay for it? Tell me what would make you pay for a solution, whatever that is. Do I pick you up in a limo? Do I put street lights out of my own pocket? What's going to make you pay for it? Because I need to run my business. This works. So what if all of this results in football boots for real people, for people who ask for them, right? Let's go with what they asked for. Let's cut to the chase. Let's not bother with the $20 million factory for basketball boots, right? So really, the best thing that could happen to your business is that you find that viability, that you find that utility, you find relevance, right? That's product market fit. And the next thing is to fail, because you're going to fail. We all fail. We fail constantly. But how do you make that failure into a system? How do you make it work for you? You make it work for you by failing really quickly. Don't build the $20 million factory. In fact, don't even build the $50,000 factory. Don't build a factory at all. Build one single prototype, go out there and say, hey guys, I think you need to play more basketball, and I've built you this. No, we don't want your stupid basketball. We're really interested in football. That's what we do. Oh, got it. Okay. What have I wasted? Whatever I've used in building this one shoe, right? If you fail fast, you fail cheap. So you can keep going until you stop failing. Who's going to tell you you haven't failed or you've succeeded? Not me. None of us. It's going to be your users, whatever you like to call them. You want to call them your audience, your community, your users, your customers, your viewers, your readers, whatever you like, right? They know. They will tell you. But this product and business failure is going to happen either when you run out of time or you're going to run out of money to figure out how to be of value. Or you tend to get distracted. You tend to get distracted because my co-founder likes podcasts. I like something. And then you throw all your resources into that and you've lost sight of user value, right? So let's talk about how we succeed. Maybe to succeed, maybe we need to step out of the media business for a bit, right? What if journalism or the lack of journalism or the future of journalism is not the problem, right? It's not about breaking news. It's not about social media or page views or your exclusive scoop or your breaking story or your data or your dashboard, or your insights or your algorithms. What if it's not about content? What if journalism was about product market fit, right? Chris is clapping. I just want to quickly stop and say that Lamin Sise is saying, I'm not hearing or seeing anything. Is everybody able to hear, see? If everything's okay, cool, thank you. Lamin, you might want to check your settings. Thank you so much. I was worried there was a problem. What if it wasn't about content? In fact, I'm going to say something else. What if you're making too much content? What if your newsroom or your startup or you as a creator or you as a freelancer, what if you're spending way too much time building product over and over and over content nonstop? What if it's too much, right? So what if journalism was a service industry? What if it was about helping people make better decisions? And trust me, as you know, there are decisions to be made. I mean, let's look at just some random ones I put together, right? Who do I vote for? How do I save my money? How do I get my kid into school? Should I go with the better school far away or the slightly shitty school really close to the house? assuming they're both priced the same. What do I do there? Tell me about schools. You're the media. Tell me. You're like essentially my own private researcher who I can hire. That's what you do as a journalist or anybody who works in media. You're powerful. You have this amazing power. You can help me make decisions about my life, right? Where do I find a job? Where do I look for my next job? Where do I shop? Where is it cheaper to shop? Can I afford to take a break? Can I afford healthcare? Should I gamble between the public healthcare, which has a wait time of 6 months, or the private one, which is way more expensive for my aging mother? What about relationships? Am I a good enough parent? Housing? It goes on. These are decisions we're having to take over and over and over and over again. I don't know if it's, Elias, I don't know if it's solution journalism or constructive journalism. We stay away from calling it that. I'll tell you why. Solution journalism is where you've got journalism and you say, here's how you can help, and here's what you can do, and here's your role. But I'm saying we don't need the solutions at the end of the story. We need the solutions well before the story was even conceived. We need those solutions to come from the community. That's where relevance comes from. So we get into journalism. Why do we get into it? We get in there because you want to do important work, right? You want to make a change. That's what all the students I speak to, that's what folks that have been in journalism 35 years still say, but I say it in a kind of cynical, jaded way, but they still say it, right? But this is amazing. But that work begins with your ability to be able to see someone's need and service that need to be informed, right? So this is something that, because Alan and I, that's right, Christina, someone else's need, not my need to have fancy journalism or my cool newsletter or my cool YouTube video, right? My need is probably, chances are it's not going to be representative of the needs of my community, and very specific needs for a very specific community. So what if the future of media is now? What if we've arrived? What if we're here? And we're saying that it's centered around the user. It is driven by the user's demands and needs, and it is powered by their interests. That perhaps this is the beginning of that, not as a solution at the end of the story that you decided to do, right? So here's another thing, which is that a modern media business strategy is helping people solve those problems, make those decisions, have that utility, have that relevance every single day. And it's kind of like a little machine. It's kind of like a good strategy when you've got it going, you can see it come alive. It becomes bigger than you. It connects intention to attention. It sounds fancy, but this is what it really means. It's the user telling you, hey, I'll give you my attention because it's got to stand up from the mass of all of that stuff out there. I'll give you my attention if you help me solve this one problem that I have, right? Give me this need. This famous lady, right? Oh, where did I go? Yeah. So I'll give you my attention. Let's go back to this. Let's go back to that A, B, and C, right? What problem are you solving and for who? And when I say what problem are you solving, fill in the you and take out the you and put in your business, put in your podcast, put in your newsroom, put in your newsletter, put in that story series that you did, put in all those data visualizations, Crowley telling things that you did. What problem are they solving for who? And the reason we go on about this is if you're putting stuff out there that is not useful, relevant, or valuable, you're not going to be in business. It's pretty much as simple as that, right? Here's where we are. Here's where we've got to get to. And here are all those solutions, right? Translate that, right? It's where we are is your problem, right? Me living a better life and all the solutions that you have for me. This is the role that you play as a media organization. What else is that user saying? They're saying, my problem is your business opportunity. Let's talk about my problem. Let's talk about what I'm facing in the world. What if I'm a single mom who does finance on the side, but has 3 kids, and I need to be able to take care of them? I need to be able to make sure they're not stuck in front of the TV because I have guilt being a mom. But I also need to do my work. What can I do? Tell me options for childcare. Tell me options for all of the school programs that, this is a business opportunity. And business opportunities traditionally lie in solving problems, right? This famous person said a while ago, if you're not an entrepreneur in journalism, you should probably not be in journalism, right? And that's because this whole media business that you and I do, the reason we're here right now, is kind of changing in this weird way, right? I mean, it's gotten kind of weird, but it's gotten exciting, right? For the past decade or 2, we've been trying to force fit all these old media concepts into those round holes that are new digital formats, right? And habits, right? I mean, it's gotten weird, but it's gotten interesting. But the biggest mistake that we've made is to assume that the internet audience is one single audience. We say the audience, like people want. What is people, right? There is no such thing. But what we've forgotten and what we should remind ourselves of constantly is that the promise of the internet is amazing, right? It gives all of us in this business that we do, this amazing opportunity to reach specific people, specific communities, needs-based, user-centered, demand-driven, engaged communities, right? It used to be kind of easy-ish, right? You put something out, audience, end of story. Now, it changed, right? About 10 years ago, it became publisher brand. You intermediated over these social platforms, and then audiences kind of consumed your content or not, but they also had conversations among themselves that you may or may not have been part of, right? It wasn't a one-way thing anymore. And now it's a whole different story. There's the creator, they're using their own platforms or public platforms, and they're still walking around having those conversations within their communities. Now they aren't audiences any longer, right? And so that age of gatekeeping is done. We're all done. And yet I still come across young journalists saying, I'm a freelance journalist, and it is so hard to pitch a story because I need all the editors, the old guys, in all the big media organizations to buy my pitch, to accept my story, to publish my story. And I'm going, that sounds a lot like the old 1990s to me, the old gatekeeping economy where you had to have the printing press, you had to have the satellites, you had delivery trucks. That's gone. It's over. It's done. We're in this new, beautiful time now. It is user-centered. It is demand-driven. But all of this, it's come to an interesting stage where to be discovered, you've got to be targeted. You've got to be specific. It's easier than ever before. And it must serve that need, right? And that's how you build this viable media business or a media business strategy. But we're really lucky. We're journalists that live in this golden age of media. We love saying that. We're, two old grumpy old men, Alan and I, but we still kind of have that some naivety and some, we still believe this. We think this is an amazing age, right? Let's go through some of those reasons why it's so amazing. You have everything you need on your phone, right? All the tools you need are right here, and they're mostly free, give or take, right? You have access to knowledge networks and people. You have media startup opportunities for every single interest out there, and sub-interest, right? Reddit makes a living doing that. You can hire and work with and collaborate with people you've never met, right? Just as we are doing here. You can learn whatever you like, mostly for free on YouTube. And platforms are now all-encompassing, right? You don't ever have to move off in order to do your research, in order to publish, in order to amplify, distribute, and even monetize and be tipped, right? It's all in one place. It's an exciting time. There's a lot going on. So how do you build this successful media business strategy? You give people what they want. Or let's pull this back one step, right? What if we ask people what they want? What if we ask them what they want before we decide on what we want? Before we do the big story, before we do the big series or the podcast or the audience or the story. How do we think about this? How do we think about what our audiences want? How can we build stuff, content, products, whatever you like, solutions that meet those needs, the needs that they told us they have? And how do we build something that has a value exchange? That it's something worth paying for. How do you do that? So let's talk about some brands that we know, for example, right? Netflix didn't set out to say, we're going to disrupt Blockbuster. The problem was late fees. They didn't have the movie you wanted, right? It was a pain, right? Uber didn't set out saying, we hate taxi drivers. They set out saying, we're filling this need. We think people need to get to places. We think they need options. They need options. Cabbies don't have change. There are no cabbies in the rain, and they don't know the way. Fare control. Apple realized one thing that the music industry sadly did not realize. And what was that? We didn't want albums anymore, man. We just wanted songs. We were making playlists for and tapes for our friends way before. They understood, right? Amazon, evil as they are, didn't set out to say, let's kill all the little shops. They set out to say, inventory is a problem. People want stuff. They're not there. There's a availability issue. There's poor customer experience. There's poor customer service. And then Airbnb didn't say, death to hotels. They said, what about, people can travel better? What about people can make more money? Much like Uber. Now there's a whole class of person who can make money by driving their car for somebody else, right? So what did these guys do? They basically checked in with what people wanted, right? And we call them the big disruptors. We call it the tech business. Technology isn't the disruptor, right? The big threat to our media business is failing to ask people what they want. We ask, we listen, then we iterate, we change it a bit, then we ask again. This is not a one-time thing. This is not your audience user survey. This is not your audience research project that you do in May. This is every single day for the rest of your life. This is media strategy. This is how it needs to work. And people will tell you what they want. Trust me, they will tell you. Your users will tell you. They have an opinion and a point of view. They're telling you the way. Maybe we're following, maybe we're not. So quick truths about attention. and the currency of digital media, right? Utility, how useful and relevant you are, is influence, right? We're going from mass to niche. In this day and age, we don't have, general news desks. We don't wake up saying, I wish I had some general news, right? So let's take a quick look at, we use this to make a point. It's interesting, right? When a media company uses Facebook, and when you want to boost your message, or you want to run a boosted ad or a boost post or whatever, you have a targeting list. This is just a partial list. Let's focus on one area of this list. This is just moms. This is crazy, right? There's big city moms, whatever that means, green moms, high school kids, preschool kids, new moms, soccer moms, stay-at-home moms, right? Each one of these audiences, we think, is a potential media startup. It's a structure where people are telling you what they need, right? Let's look at old Craigslist, right? Where a lot of this began. And let's just look at the housing options. All of these are housing options. And we think every single one of these is a statement of need. This is an audience waiting to be served. It's a potential media startup. Let's look at Reddit. We spoke about Reddit before, right? These are just the 100 top communities, the 100 biggest subreddits. We think each one of these is a gigantic media startup waiting to be served. Right? This is number 2 on the list, IMA. This is just a whole bunch of people out there in the world. This is what they do. When I made this slide and I took these screenshots, it had a 21.3 million members, of which 3,000 were online at that time, right? And then, of course, there's TikTok, which is nicher than niche, right? Any one of these is a media startup waiting to be served, is an audience waiting to be served. So the exciting thing is that niche is not small. Niche is about specificity. It's about how specific it is. The biggest challenge we have is how audiences discover and create and consume. The intent remains the same, right? The people want information, they want entertainment, they want inspiration, they want to make those decisions. But here's the funny thing about competition. Your competition as a media entrepreneur or a practitioner isn't the other media guy in the room. You guys from all these amazing people from all these amazing countries, you're all practicing media. You're not each other's competition, right? Every single digital thing out there on your phone is your competition, right? Everything is fungible. Fungible also means interchangeable. And every single digital thing will be commoditized over time, right? So everything you create competes with everything else, right? Everything's fungible. Everything can be replaced by another thing. It's all currently constantly replaced on your phone. And ping, one notification goes up, and then 2 more, and then more, right? These are all coming from different places, right? Everything needs to stand out. But where are these coming from? They're not just, one news organization after another. All of this is competing for your attention right now. I'm competing for your attention while you're on your phone, checking your messages right now, right? Social posts, photographs, live audio rooms, newsletters, presentations, memes, games. This is all competition. I mean, even Netflix and Fortnite, surprisingly, are rivals in this economy. In an earnings report a couple of years ago, they said, we're not bothered by HBO. They are bothered by Disney Plus, but then, hey, that's a different story. But we compete more with Fortnite than we do with HBO, right? And what do they need to do to compete? Now Netflix is making games, right? Games you can play on your phone, games you can play on your TV. What's the other big competitor that they talked about in their earnings report? It's sleep, right? So who is your newsroom's competitor? How do you start thinking about your competition? And then how do you start defining your business strategy? Not by the output you produce, all that content like that you're throwing at the wall, but by the need that your users tell you they have, right? How are we doing for time, guys? I have not a whole lot left, but
We're
we're going
fine.
slightly new
Yeah,
territory.
go ahead. About 10 more minutes, maybe, Rishad, if we can do
Easy,
that.
no
Okay,
problem.
cool.
All right. I hope everybody's going well and that I haven't put you to sleep yet. So I'm talking about, now let's look at how other people think about media strategy. Some of these are folks that we've worked with directly, and some of these are, most of these are people we've learned from. Let's look at 3 quick case studies of how people in media put this user problem right at the core of their strategies. So good media business strategy comes from hiring as well, right? I was struck by an ad that these folks put out in the New York Times a few, maybe like a couple of years ago. We need an entrepreneur in residence. Now, remember, this is a big news company who wants an entrepreneur, right? We want this person to identify, define, and build essential products to meet opportunity in the market. We want you to define product, the business model, the team, and execute, right? This ultimate product is about utility. There's that word again. We want it to be useful, and we want it to be valuable editorially, but we want it to stand by itself as a business. On its own, it must have global potential. Again, utility, same ad, build a habit, build utility, and therefore maximize frequency. Very interesting. Now let's look at the information. These guys set up, and Jessica Lessin, the amazing co-founder of this, said she wanted to do tech business news. She wanted to do original stories. Back in 2013, she set up a WordPress website with her buddy and said, I want it to have a paywall. I want it to have a membership, annual membership, right at the get-go. I'm going to charge people $200. And he was like, you're crazy. It's not going to work. This is 2013. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not going to work. Guess what? It works really well. This is from today. The information Pro costs $500 a year. And look at what they're saying there, how they segment. This is not the news, right? This is org charts, databases, and surveys. What do they mean by this? So you get a tech news subscription with your membership for $500 a year. You get the right to comment on their website with your picture, verified name. People want this right. They want to be part of the conversation. They've commoditized this. You get access to a Slack channel. If you happen to be in tech business anywhere in the world, a writer, a commodities trader, an investor, a VC, in tech policy, you would want to pay for the information membership. You'd want to be in on conference calls about autonomous vehicles, about ChatGPT, about what was happening coming around the bend, because you need that to be the smartest person in your business. Also, events. I went and attended an event there, and they're spectacular. They also sell org charts. If you're in the tech business, you need to know who's at Apple, who's reporting to who at Dropbox, who's doing what at Google. So then there's Frontier Myanmar, who we worked with directly before the coup and before COVID. And they hired us to do their membership program. And it said, how do we build this? What should we do? What's the pricing? And what are the products we offer? And we said, we have no clue. So we got a few funny looks. And they were like, well, we are paying you for this. And we're like, well, maybe you're asking the wrong people. We have no clue. Let's ask potential members. So you said, what do you mean? Well, let's say we're building you a membership program. What would you like it to be? And how much are you willing to pay for it, right? So we put a bunch of them in a room. We decided that, let's get a bunch of these people in a room in Yangon and, asked a whole bunch of readers what they wanted. This was a terrible time. The organization couldn't afford to pay the rent. No ads were supporting them. And this was pre-coup. It was all building, right? In the middle of the table, the big highlight, really addictive biscuits. We served biscuits to everybody who came to the conference room for 4 days running. We had 3 groups a day and nonstop, relentless biscuits. This might be the engine to the membership program, but I thought it fit to mention them. So we put folks around the table over and over again. We showed them the same. We showed them the same presentation, and we said that we've targeted specific personas that we think would be able to carry the message of Myanmar. What are your business needs? What are your user needs? That would be able to carry the message of change in Myanmar internationally. We needed advocates, right? So diplomats, journalists, NGOs, academics, businesses, and we said, what problems are we solving for each one of these people? So that was the diplomat who needed to represent social and political issues. The journalist needed, facts and opinions and access. The NGO said, listen, I really need to be able to have impact because that's what I'm measured on. So I need this information. The academic says research. The business person says relationships, right? And this continued. So we threw fancy things at them because we were like, hey, we can be like the information, right? What about cool conference calls? Everybody booed in the room. They were like, oh, please, not another call. It was like, shit, this is going badly. Slack groups. Wouldn't you want to be part of Slack group? No, please, no more Slack groups. Wow, okay, this is hard. What about data visualization? Nobody wanted that. No. What we found was that they wanted a membership program, and they said, stop offering us these things in exchange. We will tell you what we need, but we're supporting you as members because we want you to exist. We buy into your mission. Your subscriptions are different. A subscription is basically a recurring payment in exchange for something. A membership is people telling you they believe in your mission, right? Then they said they wanted 5 newsletters. We said, what kind of newsletters? What problem is it solving? Again, that question, always that question. Can you translate the headlines for us because we don't speak Burmese? Okay. What about Parliament news? I need to know what's going on in Parliament. Sure, we'll give you Parliament newsletter. Can you give me a media monitor thing just around specific topics? Sure, we can build that. We'll test it. What about behind the scenes, what's going on behind the stories that you publish? Anytime. That was going to be an event called Frontier Fridays. Then the coup happened. Then the pandemic happened. And then members updates. So, and then they realized, they made the leap that online events where you're discussing the story of the day with experts and panelists and insights. Now their member series has a massive following and it drives memberships. They put this in place, and 1 month before the pandemic hit, they were able to pay all their staff salaries, and they're still continuing to do so today, even though they've been exiled, right? They asked their members what they wanted. They asked their people what they wanted. So it was about demand. What problems exist? What is the solution? And can I build that solution? And can I make money doing this? Will this be sustainable or viable? When do you stop asking these questions? Never. This is the rest of your life. And so now, the home stretch, 5 things you need on your way to building a modern media business strategy in 2023. I'm going to zip through these things fairly quick. I think don't build a community. They're out there. Ask your permission into one and serve them. Where do you find need, utility, problems to solve? Within a community. What does a community have? It's got all these things that they share, right? So many things, even rituals, even ways to come together. You know, songs they sing. Think of football communities. Think of, I dare say, religious communities. There's shared belongings. There's needs, but there's also that shared problem. What is better than solving one person's problem? Solving a bunch of them and then telling them they're not alone, and having them survive in that community and thrive in that community, right? Again, niche is not small, niche is specific, right? Value is in the utility of others. How do you make 10 people happy? This is the iterative process. How do you then take that and iterate towards 100, then 1,000, right? These are real people, right? Influencers and creators live and die by this whole thing, this whole niche thing, right? They make those fan connections. They make this, they are specific to niches. There's a lot we can learn from them. So let's ask a bunch of uncomfortable questions. How many people can you name in your audience? A few, like first names. Or when was the last time you met someone who reads your newspaper, a newsletter, or listens, or watches, right? Let's forget about the CMS, the content management system. Let's look at your customer relation management. It's about the CRM. And here's the other awkward question. If any of our media organizations or platforms were to close down tomorrow, would any of your users miss you? Ask yourself this question, and then go back to relevance and utility. What do you scale? What do you not scale? It isn't about content. It's about automating, simplifying your work so you can grow. And it's about doing things that don't scale at all. Alan and I write a newsletter each. Today was newsletter day, to complicate matters. But we write a weekly newsletter, and every single person who subscribes gets a personalized email from us saying, hey, how's it going? You know, are you in Singapore? Or, you know, if we're in Chiang Mai, are you in Chiang Mai? Do you want a coffee? None of this scales. We don't have automated message going out. We want to say we're real, we're interested in what you do, we want to learn from you. Understand your competition. We went through this. It's about scarcity, not abundance. Don't do another story, just another podcast, just another YouTube channel. Ask for their attention by speaking to people and asking what problem you can solve for them, right? Be the first to solve that problem. That's the obsession you should have, not about breaking stories, right? And then don't worry about formats, whether it's a podcast or an article or a video, it doesn't matter. None of this matters. Having that conversation matters. Solving that user's problem matters. Telling them that you care enough and respect them enough to solve it, to want to care about, that matters. Empathy really does matter, right? It's about the problem. And finally, stand out, right? Here we are, back at product market fit, right? Usually it should come the other way around, right? What if it were called market product fit? Ask the market, figure out a product, test it out, fail really cheap, fail really quickly, listen, and then continue to iterate until you build value, right? So all of us, let us all close our eyes, hold hands, humbly swear to make an oath to stop making basketball shoes for people who actually want football boots. Do we have questions?
Oh my God, this is exactly what we needed for today, Rishad. You just said everything that we wanted everybody to learn today. It's just outstanding. Thank you so much, really.
Thank
And
you.
you can only take a look at the chat because I mean, really, you rock, man. Thank you so much
Oh,
for being here.
so
And
awesome.
yeah, okay. So
Thank
I
you.
know you probably have zillions of questions. So
Please.
Anne and I will be alternating ourselves in helping select some of them. We have about, let's say, 25 minutes. I just want to start saying that, Rishad, this program here was totally thought using exactly what you just said. I'm just going to bring to the reality of journalism once more. So Elevate started, the first thing we ever posted about Elevate on internet was a set of questions saying, are you running a newsroom and you have no clue how to price your products? Are you running a newsroom and you feel like you're training people or they're going to go work for the competitor? Are you suffering to have a finance spreadsheet, and then you can understand how how well you're doing money wise? So that was the first thing that we did because we wanted to test the idea. We felt like the community needed it. Our community in this situation being journalists, right? We felt like, but we weren't that sure. We felt like that was a thing, and it was like outstanding to see the feedback we got last year. And seriously, it was, I think it was like 300 people said, I do. I am. So then we designed Elevate from zero. So yeah, it works. And I truly believe on the market product fit that you just described. Thank you so much for your presentation. It's a very, it's a wonderful way to start Elevate, and I'm so happy. All right, so
Thank you.
we have some questions here, and
Sure.
there's one that, I mean, we're journalists, so get ready for tricky questions. The first one is very interesting one, is what to do when there is no customer for the products offered?
Great question. Who asked that question? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm gonna read the name. It's Badilon Kawanda Bakin, if I'm reading it right.
Okay.
And
so
yes,
here's-
everybody can write the questions in the chat. You feel free to do that.
So it's interesting that you're asking this. What do you do if we don't have customers for the products we build, right?
Rishad,
So
one quick thing.
Yeah,
Can you unshare the screen so we can see you better?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Stop share. Done. So the answer really was what do you do with if we don't have customers for the products that we have? There's two things you can do. The answer was in that last slide of mine, right? Either you have the wrong products or your customers don't know about them, right? So what if you did it the other way, right? In the old days, we said, I'm going to do news. Here's the news. Now let's go find readers. What if we did it the other way around? Let's look for a market that is underserved. Let's look for a niche that hasn't been addressed. Let's look for a problem that doesn't have solutions. Let's look for issues that have not been answered. And let's try and get in there. So how do you don't look for customers for your products. Maybe look for products that can serve your customers. I'm not sure that answers your question, but that's how I would go about it.
I love you just said this. Then let me go back to Elevate number one, Rishad, to say that in one of our participants last year actually understood that they were just having too much products. Let's just kill your darlings. If there is something that it's not profitable, it's taking lots of time, and it's not, make sure you know when to plug off everything and do something else. Anna, what do you have there? Any more questions?
Sure. This one comes from Sanaya Shah. And this speaks to one of my favorite points you just made, that niche is not about small, niche is about specific. So she asked, sorry, I just lost it. she asked, how do we become a viable business when our specific product serves a niche audience that is a fraction of a regional audience that is tiny to begin with? It's nice to serve the World Wide Web when you build a globally welcome product, but a non-English minority language product has its limitations in our experience.
Well, that's exactly the thing, is that, again, we're assuming that the internet is one big audience. We used to broadcast, right? It isn't broad. But the fact that it's narrow, the fact that you want to find niche, the fact that you want to narrow cast is not a bug, it's a feature. So don't look for the universal one size fits all. There isn't any such thing. One size does not fit all. I don't identify as male, Asian, above 40, lives in Singapore. That's not how I see myself. I see myself as very specific things, as does Anna, as does Chris, as does Renata, as do all of you. You're more than your statistic, right? So why don't you go as niche as possible? In fact, if you're that niche, go that niche. Try and figure out how to serve the needs of those 10 people in your neighborhood. Forget the world. What about your language, your specific community, your specific neighborhood? What's wrong with the street lights? What's wrong with the roads? What's wrong with the school systems? What makes it safe for young girls to walk home from school after it's dark? What makes it safe? Go to those niches, find that problem, solve it, iterate, and make it valuable. Derive value from it. You know how you scale? You add on another niche, and then you add on another niche. That's how you grow.
Perfect. So I'm gonna try to merge here several questions, Rishad,
Sure.
that are more or
Sure.
less alike. So some people saying, okay, we need to identify the problem and then think the product and then, test it out. Okay, but how do we choose this specific problem that we want to address? And there are several questions that go more or less around this. Like, how do we define which problem to pick?
So there's two ways to do that. Either you have $10 million to give a research agency and collate all the problems in the world around you, and then you assess that, you find insights into that research. Or you do it the way we do it, when you don't have a budget, and you make an assumption. So you make an assumption with, let's say you make an assumption and you say, hey, I've been writing this newsletter and I know some of you read me, or I've been doing this podcast and I know some of you listen. I have a plan. I have a thing that I want to launch that's going to be an event series on, I don't know, basketball shoes. We all want to talk about sneakers, right? You can tell I'm obsessed. Could you meet me at the local coffee shop? I will buy the first 20 coffees. Let's go talk. Let's meet face to face, or let's have a Zoom call, whatever it is you want. Spend half an hour with me. Your 20 biggest fans, whose names you already know, trust me, you know them. These are the people who hassle you on email. Every time you miss a slot, they will nag you about it. Ask them and say, I want to start this thing. What do you think I should do? In fact, I want you to pay for it. $5 a week. And they're going, I'm not going to pay you $5 a week. Don't ask them what they would pay. Ask them, what do I need to do to make this worth $5 a week? What do I need to do to serve that need? So it's almost like you're going to your friend and saying, you know what I think you need today? Pizza. And they go, screw you, man. I don't need pizza. I actually want tacos. You say, okay, now we've got a conversation. But imagine if you just turned up with pizza. Not so much fun, right? So I'm saying, ask them what they want to eat.
A great metaphor. Love that. Anna, any more questions?
Yeah, a few people
Resilience.
are asking, sort of building on that, how do you choose what medium to use to solve the problem? Once you've established your problem solution, how do you go about picking like whether you should run a podcast, deliver it through radio, print, YouTube, etc.? What goes into that?
I love that
decision?
question.
Yeah.
I love that question because we say, you know, it's like any polite conversation. Again, I don't have a fancy tech response. It is slow, boring, and unsexy. My answers are always that. It's going to be, we like to say, meet your users or viewers or listeners where they are. So, you know, when we started up a Slack channel for Splice, for the Splice community, people on the Telegram channel like, what the hell, man? I hate Slack. Are you going to shut down Telegram? We had like, I think we have about 800 people on Telegram and about 500, 600 at Slack. But no, we're not going to shut it down. Oh, but how you, well, you know, the idea is to meet your people where they are. So the answer isn't this or that. If you're getting relevance and utility and giving your folks value on YouTube, do that. But if you're also getting relevance and an audience and value on a podcast, do that as well. Make it really cheap. Test it. You know how you test a podcast? You know how you test a new podcast? You open up the voice memo on your phone and you record into it and say, here's a quick test of the podcast that I want to do around sneakers or tacos. I'm going to feature one, sneaker personality, one taco recipe, one something, and I'm going to tell you what the best taco tech is to use in your newsroom. And I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to send it to 50 people on their WhatsApp. Tell me what you think. How long is that going to take you? Tell me, trust me. How simple is that? You do a quick one and you say, this is just a quick MVP. It's a minimum viable prototype. It's just to test. What do you think? Do it all. Meet them where they are.
Rishad, we have some people, again, I'm trying to merge everyone, the questions.
Please.
So there's a very
Absolutely.
good one. There's a couple of them that go regarding what happens when your market has never ever paid for journalism, or isn't that, let's say, rich enough to financially pay for your product. And I'm saying some people here from Cuba, these countries, like these people just don't pay for journalism, just don't pay for information. What would be your advice there?
So my advice is, unpopular opinion, stop calling it journalism, stop calling it news, stop calling it any of these things. Stop classifying yourself and painting yourself into a corner. It doesn't matter. That's one thing I'm going to say. The other thing I'm going to say is everybody, everywhere pays for stuff. Why aren't they paying for what you produce? I don't know. Alan and I, my co-founder and I, this is one of the things we get every country we go to. Cambodia, Vietnam, Nepal, Germany, Mongolia. Duya's in here, I think. I think Duya said to me, are you here, Duya? She said to me from Mongolia, she said, we hear this one statement every time, which is, Mongolians don't pay for news. Or Nepalese people don't pay for, Cubans don't pay for news. What do they pay for? Are they paying for it? Are they not paying for anything at all, ever? I find that hard to believe. We want to make a t-shirt that is one big blank that says, fill in the blank doesn't pay for news. What are they paying for? Are they paying for pens? Are they paying for phones? Are they paying for, like cables? What are they paying for? What problems can you solve? What problems are these things solving? Which way can, and if they're not paying for news, here's another thing you can ask them. Hey, I want to do this thing that'll solve your problem. What would you pay me for? This is how much I need. And they would tell you, you know what they'd tell you? They would tell you, bullshit. That is not our problem. So we're not interested in the solution. But you know what? That's a beautiful thing because you just failed right there. But you failed for free. You failed for cheap. So now you've got a conversation going. You're not going to pay for this because I've got the wrong problem? Fantastic. What's the right problem? What can I help you with? What are you dealing with? Now you've got the conversation going. That's where it begins. I don't have an answer. There are horribly poor people in the world, and we are all very privileged to be able to make some of these choices. Some of them don't. I don't have all the answers. But the important thing is to find out what is driving them. What is it that, what are they suffering from? What is the issue you can help them solve?
Building right off that, Amango Arauco asked a really relevant question. How do you differentiate between failing faster to pivot to something else versus having the patience to wait for something to grow? So where do you make that call to pull the plug and have that conversation with your community?
That's fantastic. I would say try a number of things. I think what a lot of us in media are scared of is having actual conversations. We did this recently with a podcast company in the Philippines. They're called Puma Podcast, and we love them dearly. We've met them a few times, and we think they're wonderful people. But they said, we do all this stuff that we want people to listen to, but we've never listened to our audience. We don't know how to do that. Can we hire you guys to do that? And we're like, I'm not sure why your funder or grantor is giving us all this money to help you listen to your audience. You guys are in the media business. You know how to talk to people. You know how to ask them questions. You're journalists. You know how to ask people questions. But hey, we'll take your money. So we walked in and we helped them run a whole bunch of focus groups. And they were like, we're called Puma Podcast. Why do you listen to your podcast? Why do you like us so much? And they said, well, we don't really care about your podcasts. Over and over and over and over and over again, we had groups of people during the pandemic on Google Meet, And Carl was like, wait, what? Sorry, what? And he's like, yeah, we don't, podcasts are great, but we love you. Why do you love us? Well, because you guys are a safe space in a Philippines that is hugely polarized politically and socially and economically. So you're a safe space. We don't care what you do. You could make ball bearings. We don't give a shit. We'll hang out because you guys are a safe space. Oh, I thought it was all about the podcast. So sorry, I got a little carried away. What was the question again?
Yeah, you're right on there. So when do you make that call to pivot to pull the plug on something and put your energy into something else?
Ask them. Go right out there and ask them. We're really scared of asking people. We look at Facebook likes and we look at, who cares if you have 6 million likes? I'm going to like your page because I'm going to give you a drive-by like. It costs me nothing. Goodbye. And I'm never going to look at you again. What do you do with a like? What do you do with a follow? Who cares?
Rishad, I'm going to stop you right there because this connects with some other people's questions. Like, can you give us like very hands-on tips on, okay, we understood that we need to log off today and go talk to our community and our potential clients and readers and whatever. Tips on good ways to do that. What have you seen that works? You're saying that engagement likes is not perfect. What is your number one suggestion?
My big suggestion is whatever your platform or surface is, wherever you want to test this thing, take that conversation there. And I mean, wherever it is, right? So what Alan and I do, again, I'll tell you what we are. Might not be apples to apples because we're not a publisher. We're not publishing. But the way that we talk to our audiences and the way that we talk to our community is that we say, hey, we're in Chiang Mai this week. We'll put it in our newsletter. We write these newsletters and I do one every Wednesday. Alan does one. I do one on media product. Alan does one on media intelligence and trends and threats and stuff. And we put it there and we're saying, we're going to be at this bar having a beer on Thursday, the 6th of May. Do you want to, if you're in Singapore, if you're in Chiang Mai, or you're in Perugia, or you're in wherever it is we are, come hang out. And so they come. What we've seen that works really well is people that ask really direct questions and say, when you build in public, it's humbling, it is difficult, but it gives you real results. So don't say, what's the best thing you want from your media? Forget media. Stop asking people about media. Nobody cares about media. Media is just the conversation about the difficult thing. Ask the difficult thing. If I could build you one solution that you would pay me $10 a month for, what would that be? Would it be who do I vote for? Where do I get childcare? Where do I get, what would that be? Try that. Tell people, I'm building this one thing that I think will solve your problem. Can you meet me for a coffee? It's as hard as that, but it has massive results.
Rishad, so you're
Yeah.
saying talk instead of
Talk to
type.
people.
Talk
Yes.
instead of type. That's
Yes.
important. And can I ask to go the opposite way around, what not to do? What have you learned while asking people what they need that people should just not do it because it doesn't work?
For one, all due respect to Google Analytics and page views and stuff, but that's not going to tell you what people want, right? That's going to tell you how many people saw what you published. At no point is it going to tell you, I'm really interested. 7 out of 10 people, or 7,000 out of 10,000 people are really, really interested, since you have all this data on where regional exiled media is going from this. People need to know. Look, my experiences with exiled journalists from Myanmar who are having to cross the border in the middle of the night, sneak across the jungle and get to Chiang Mai somehow so that they don't get tortured, right? How about if I did a newsletter on really great ways to get the hell out? Really great ways to find Burmese tea in Chiang Mai. Really, these are real conversations I've had. Where do I get great Wi-Fi? How do I exchange my Burmese SIM card for a Thai SIM card? What visa should I get? Where do I get Shan noodles for really cheap? How can I meet more people like me? So go there, go where your folks are, meet them where they are, and have those conversations with me. So what not to do? Don't ask them about media. What content would you like to see? What can I do to help? If you could give me 2 problems, what would those be? So we're in the business of, Splice is in the business of helping media startups get to viability. We want you guys to tell truth to power, but we also want you to do it tomorrow and next week, and we want you to pay your rent, and we want you to pay your people. We want you to run a viable media business. So every year we put out a media wish list. What's on your media wish list? So that we can build better programs for you, or we can tell other folks who we advise what programs you need. And we get all these answers. What is your wish list? But we give them options because nobody wants random unstructured data. So we put in, I want to meet people and I want relationships and networking. I want to learn how to build a media product that actually sells. I want access to funding. I want this. And then we always have you can only pick 2. And then you can give us a little text box if we've missed out anything.
Super. I think we're 1 minute away. 1 minute away, Rishad. It's probably really, really late for you. I want to, first of all, thank you so much. I mean, it could have not been better. Outstanding talk. I think this is like a wonderful way to take off with Elevate. I hope this is already a mindset changing moment. And I really want to emphasize that this is the kind of things that you will find in the next 3 sessions and throughout Elevate. We saw many questions regarding hiring and keeping people and motivating people and how to plug in a new product. So these these are the conversations that we keep going on. And I'm very, very honored to have Rishad, Adriana, Anna, and Renata in the team to actually best serve you. We are trying to work on your needs. So it was great to see all the questions that is feeding us, even to build Elevate, even to build Pre-Elevate. Now we're more ready to offer you and try to solve your problem, which is one of ICFJ's goal. So Rishad, thank you so much. I can only wish you all the best and to see you soon as a mentor for our team. And that's it. I mean, Adriana, did you want to say any? I mean, Rishad, do you want to say any final words?
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It's been such an honor to be here. It's such a privilege to have all your questions. I put my email address in there. If anybody wants to write, I'm always happy to. I respond to email. I will always respond to email. Put them in there. Always happy to help.
Thank you, Rishad. Adriana.
I was just like, amazing presentation, Rishad. I'm based in
Oh,
Los Angeles,
thank you.
here in California, and I was just part
Very
of
kind.
a collaboration of all like local journalism here in America. There's like a huge disruption of what's going on with local journalism.
Sure.
And right on point, they're talking about this blend of they call it citizen journalism, solution
Yep.
journalism, community journalism, all the name that you want, but at the end of the day, is solution center service content journalism that service communities. I think that you're right on point. This is a worldwide trend. Congratulations.
Yay,
Wonderful.
thanks, Adriana. So Adriana will be with us in the 4th week of March, right? So yeah, and Anna, final words around the
4th
date?
week of March, yes. Please get with Adriana. That is the 28th of March. You guys have got to jump in for this session. I'm going to be there for sure. So really excited about that.
Absolutely. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. We've got a whole year-long program. So this is just the beginning. Next week, our very own Christina will be presenting to us on finance and operations. So we have that to look forward to. Then we'll have Leonardo Stanilo to take us to communications and marketing. And finally, Adriana will wrap it up with tech. So please come, everybody, please come, tell your friends, tell your coworkers. It'll be great. Christina?
Yeah, and I am in trouble because, how can I do a good presentation after Rishad? I am in trouble,
Oh.
big trouble. Oh my goodness.
Come on. Oh.
Yeah. So
You flatter me. Listen,
please don't come, Rishad. I mean, anyway.
Listen, I'm gonna just drop my presentation link in here, if that's okay.
Sure.
I noticed some people
I was gonna ask you that.
is that okay?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure,
absolutely.
please. If you
Cool.
feel comfortable, it's amazing. And we will also share it with those that had to drop off. We had 100 people more throughout the entire day, Rishad, which is outstanding. Again, beautiful way to start Elevate. And I just want to thank you again. So everyone,
Thank you so much. That's very
the
kind of you.
presentation is in the doc. We will share it again with this group. I saw some people saying, can we create a forum? Can we be together? That's the reason why we're doing Pre-Elevate. We're creating a community that is worldwide and desperately needs to talk and discuss sustainability in journalism. So yeah, we are going to build something. Stay tuned and come meet us. Next Tuesday. I hope I can do as well as Rishad did today. Thank you, everyone.
Very kind.
Have a good day, good night, good afternoon, and stay tuned. Love you.
See you, folks.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Lovely
everybody.
to be here. Thank you.